Well, Avril, not great news for Gen.G fans here as they drop their map pick onto Bind, and even worse beyond that, they're going to Ascent where TSM have been flawless so far. But before we start to count our chickens, what words? We got to count our chickens before they hatch here is what I'm trying to say. You can tell I haven't been on the farm all that long. But with that in mind, going back to Bind, a lot of really special moments for TSM.
Yeah, well, TSM apparently have been on the farm, certainly on this map entirely. It's been a bit of a hot run so far. It was a pretty close start, I think, so between both sides on that opening half. And you look over towards the second half as well, where Gen.G picked up the opening 3. And really it comes down from that 4th round onwards. That was when the damage was done. That 4th round where, the gun was dropped. It was a thrifty win from TSM. That's when I think the gears really shifted massively. You see in the highlights here a number of large runs from, Sabrosa, Wardell getting some kills as well. Wardell had that one massive round with the triple kill on the operator. And for Gen.G, they kept it close for a decent while, but when the dam started chipping away and breaking, I mean, that water came out very fast.
And I got to kind of ask the question because you brought it up before we sent things to a break for Mikhail. Again, this is the first time that we've seen him on stream pull out the Sky here for Gen.G on Bind. Not exactly how you would expect a Sky to perform, just 5 and 15 with 8 assists. You talked very largely about how Sky is becoming more popular in this map overall. What are your kind of reactions there, considering the fact that this is not a composition that we've seen Gen.G play up until this point?
Yeah, I think it's more coming down to the fact that, it's less about the pick and really about the individual performance so far. Just, 5, and by the way, I'll repeat myself, the 5 was only found in the first half. The second half, there wasn't a single kill there. So that really is just more coming down to mechanics at the end of the day or potential timings there. I think the pick itself was fine in terms of the character selection. Sky had pretty large value for Cutler. You were finding some decent information via the Sky coming through in Gen.G as well that we saw from Mikhail. So really it just came down to Gimond as well, to be fair, had a pretty rough performance, at least in the fragging department. And it started to get away from Gen.G in that second half. Again, it comes down to that thrifty on round 4 onwards from the second half, and then things started to really fall apart. And that, to me, comes down to more maybe in the individual players there. You saw that last 1v1 situation, the 3v1 they lost to, Cutler as well, through showers on A. It was just a lot of moments like that where Gen.G kind of falling apart.
Well, now we turn our attention over to Ascent. Again, for TSM fans out there, you're probably thrilled to see this one in the map set because your squad is 11-0, including a 73% success on defense and a 67% success on attack. On the other side for Gen.G, not the worst map overall for them, but they are struggling just a bit. They're 1-4 overall in their last 5 attempts through VCT, including 11-13 loss to TSM last time they played.
The only win they have on this match so far in VCT is versus Cloud9 Blue, who's been struggling themselves, and Cloud9 Blue, still took that one into OT. It was a tough one for Gen.G to win. What they can really hold on to is the fact that they took TSM to 11-13, but reminder, that was TSM when they were still kind of working with a kind of an awkward composition. Not going to see any of that today. You're going to be seeing just the single smoke coming through from Sabrosa. Hayes going towards the Killjoy, which is going to be better than what we saw on the previous map of Bind. Killjoy has played a lot on Ascent, doesn't really get played at all on Bind, and Hayes still really making it work. Kus is going to be moving towards the Killjoy as expected. Shaw now over towards the Reyna. And that 100% win rate for TSM is just monstrous. It's enormous. There's been some close games on Ascent so far in VCT for TSM, to be fair with you. There've been some very close ones, but they haven't dropped any. No matter how close the games have gone on Ascent, TSM have held that 100% win rate.
Well, a tall task here for Gen.G if they want to see Icebox, which would be map number 3. And as we get things kicking off, it will be Gen.G starting things off defensively. You need to start and come off strong. They were perfect in the pistols on Bind. You would love to see that come true once more here on Ascent.
Defending first, TSM here on the attack drone, going over towards the Phoenix here as well. So not opting for the Reyna, which has been the NA specials for a long time, I think, for most teams on this particular map. Reyna obviously had a change on the orbs for the dismiss, and also Devour opening recon, just clearing over into mid, and Gen.G, rather TSM taking full control as Gen.G take control of B main.
Well, they've allowed a lot of space here for TSM to potentially work through the middle of the map, of which Cutler will just confirm, okay, are we actually this free through mid? The only thing really kind of standing in their way would be this sentry turret, which you see will activate from this position over towards the boathouse. And Gen.G will accordingly turn their attention towards mid. Mikhail going to be tested through tree. Paranoia will push him back, but he also threw out a shock dart, which does keep TSM a bit more honest through tree. And now the hit, or is it? GMD from the corner inside the site finds two beautiful headshots, and now TSM getting pinched up from behind. Gen.G flawless thus far, and it just comes down to Hayes for what would have to be a 1v5.
You can tell that Gen.G weren't that concerned about towards B as well. Again, they had double members pushed up into B main there, and they had decent control. There are 3 members onto B. They said if TSM want to come through market, we're going to meet them there. We're going to have angles to play with because TSM have got no one over towards B main at all. Looked like it could have just been a full market push. There was no B split at all. Gimon holding strong on towards A. Gen.G not really just kind of buckling that specific defense. And then Gimon just getting the double kill. Gen.G rotating members as well. Sean getting quite aggressive with teammates, walking through B, into Link, into mid, cleaning up Sub Rosa. And TSM not getting too much work done there. Not a single kill so far for TSM. O's across the board and a decent number of pickups coming through from Gen.G.
So what does TSM have in store here for the second round? A bit of damage had been confirmed onto Hwin. But Sean, once again, finding first blood. It's Sabrosa who is trying to search for information through B main. That's going to be very unsuccessful. Now the curveball play, not going to be finding any success either as Gomon, like you mentioned, lines him up, gets the Spectre to respond for 2. And now it is just a 2v5 overall. Sean wanted to play aggressive to the middle of the map. He just has a ghost, so no real upgrade there for TSM. And, well, Wardell will find the Sheriff for a kill. So an opportunity starting to brew, but the problem is you've got Wardell just to 11 HP.
And there's also the spike currently being looked at kind of by Gimon. I mean, he doesn't actually have full sights on it, but he's very close by. Smoke's going to come down to slow things. And like you mentioned, the HP not looking great, actually, for either player. So it's going to come down to reaction here from either side. There is going to be a second response. You see Hwin's close by, so even if Gimon goes down, the trade will be there. And, I mean, it's not even going to be required. Spike will be found again. Doesn't really matter what happens over this side of the map. Kusa could die. He could give over the Stinger. But even that being the case, I don't know that's going to be enough for Cutler.
No, not on 3 HP. Again, no spike in hand. He's got to rotate all the way back towards this. And you do see Gimon has pushed into the attacking spawn. A couple of pot shots for Cutler. And the time for him to even collect this spike and try to make a play would be hard-pressed to be successful. But he'll give it a try. Collects
no time.
No time. So, NTNT for Cutler. Maybe he could find one more elimination, but at least he may be able to plant this for a bit of extra economy. So, yeah, that will still come down.
You saw that in there as well. Gimon thought about swinging. He was just kind of not there. He didn't want to die. He actually had a gun. He would have lost more than he would have gained, I think, from swinging that one. But Sean coming through, 3 kills so far, 1 death. I think the 1 death was fairly inconsequential. Again, he is playing the Reyna here, looking for early Empress timings. So dying there and just trying to make a play, pretty worth it. I mean, it did get kind of close. If it wasn't for the fact that they also got the extra kill into Wardell over towards A main, securing the spike, that could have been a little bit more dangerous. Again, dying, for Kusa dying over towards B, not the worst thing in the world. And now Sean straight away. A shift, 2-tap into the dismiss. And that just might be the push. I mean, TSM down to 3 now.
Was it a 2-tap or just the headshot collide? I don't know, but I mean, that cannot happen. I was about to bring up the point that Gen.G, yeah, you're up 2-0, but this is third round where this is the weakest third round arsenal that they've had so far. Not apparently, as the Sheriff will find 2 kills. Sabrosa trying to make his way over. Kusta here with a ghost. And there will still be a lot of pressure for TSM, but the problem is, can you get through Sean?
There's already been rotations. I mean, look at this. Gen.G are here to play now. They got 4 members roughly nearby. Hwin still hanging out over towards potentially into Pizza Market, into spawn. We're under a minute. TSM, they don't have a lot of great control elsewhere. You do have Hayes kind of checking out mid. There could still be TSM rotating off. You can see the TSM are potentially getting cold feet here, just trying to fire some shots in, maybe find something through the smoke, hoping they don't get swung and killed by Sean. This Ferrari Reyna just getting these taps. The good news for TSM is that Gen.G actually haven't picked up any guns. Of course, both guns are still waiting in B main. And the difficulty with TSM is if they leave B main, then they do give the guns over. So they kind of want to keep control here and maybe commit to B anyway.
Kusta thinking about it, changing the angle. Does he want to try to push through this dark cover, though, is the question. Again, like you mentioned, those weapons would be huge, and TSM is going to back up to try to save. That does allow those ARs to be collected for free, though, so that is an expensive round for TSM in more ways than one.
I thought they would at least try and hold control of the B main. I mean, the 3 rifles there would still be hard for Gen.G to push in. Gen.G would really want those guns, and in this sort of case, you got TSM get to walk away 3 alive, but They also give the 2 guns over. I thought if they're going to save, they wouldn't go back to spawn. They would attempt to try and save into B main with, you know, the fact that they've cleared most of the flanks. Hayes having mid control is actually really important there, knowing that the rest of Gen.G weren't just going to flank from behind and maybe squeeze them in. And that would allow them to at least have some ability to hold on to 2 extra guns in terms of stopping Gen.G from having them. As what a huge round. Sean getting that either 1-tap or 2-tap, not exactly sure what happened, like you sort of mentioned, but it's big enough that the round straight there was going to be too hard for TSM to continue with.
Early nanostorm coming out. A curveball sent forward from TSM as they want to get control of B main. In a very important round here, if we're being completely honest, because TSM, as mentioned, still held on to a couple of rifles, but Gen.G similarly have saved up their economy as much as humanly possible. Recon Bolt dealt with. Lear gets tossed out, but instantly canceled. Then it will be a dark cover that results in kind of stalling this push for TSM.
Well, shots being fired by Juan over towards mid, doing a little bit of damage as well. You'll notice, by the way, that there's only 1 ultimate on board for both teams, and that comes through from Sean. So when the timing is right, the Empress could be popped. Gimon notices a bunch of players in mid, has it smoked out. Now still an alarm bot to cover the tracks. As TSM are starting to move over towards the A side of things. Huan is watching this one. Could be a 1-tap and a dash out. Shot could be pretty big as well. Shot gets massive damage.
Not just onto 1, but onto 2 different players now put into the yellow. TSM have not fully committed yet, but the Bladestorm has been earned by getting 2 of those ultimate orbs. Now the battle will start to ensue. Quinn really wants to hold on to this. Drone able to find not just 1, but 2 of his own. Up top from Erdell! Able to find the headshot on the double updraft play. So Gen.G's in a 2v3 situation. Sean, do you want to Empress is the real question. Will be the first one forward to try to contest any post-plant setup, and he does find 1. Gets the dismiss. Cutler's only on 27 HP, but he's worked his way underneath and has been completely concealed in the effort. Wardell still holding long, is no longer just on a Bladestorm. He's got a Vandal to work with. Nobody checks Cutler. Wardell watching over the top. Both will find an individual kill, and TSM find their first round.
And that's Drone. That's Drone just flashing through into Tree over here, only on the Sheriff. Kind of similar to what we saw coming through from Sean a little bit early on to B. And it just seems like every single time, like Gen.G make a massive play happen just 1 round ago. Drone and the rest of TSM come through big time on the following round, and that 1 flash completely ruins Gen.G's hold on Tree. I mean, they would have had a short kind of cover between the 2 members, spraying down any members of TSM trying to come in. There were 2 pistols coming in from TSM as well. Wardell only started the round, by the way, 4 out of 6. He had to find the ultimate in the middle of the round to even get the Bladestorm. And that's got to be a big pickup, I think, for TSM to bounce back so far early in the half.
A lot of aggressive utility being thrown out for Gen.G as they want to try to control this long A area. Curveball coming through. Recon Bolt as well. The spam shots for Goman not going to be good enough for an elimination, so First Blood does tilt in favor of TSM, who do still have a run it back and a Hunter's Fury to use for this hit if so required.
Tough situation for Gimon there. He was about to be spotted by the recon. He was just hoping that he could find a timing to get a kill. He knew he was probably dead. As soon as the recon pings him, no real chance of surviving through the smoke there. Just had to trade 1 for 1, but couldn't quite get that 1 kill. Drone now following another drone, the owl drone that is into A, and it's pretty clear right now. Drone's not going to get a kill here, but he'll confirm that the site is entirely free. Okay, that's got to be a bit of tax coming from Mikhail. Okay.
That's huge. The run it back finds absolutely nothing. You essentially lose your follow-up player. Hayes timing here. He will not actually get it on Akusta, who nearly gets the timing on the follow-up peak. But with the spike down and still a Hunter's Fury to play with, this would have to be a big piece of contact here for Kusta, who is just going to wait for more rotators for TSM. So this is going to leave Wardell on the site by himself. If Kusta can take down the Sova right around the corner, it would be massive, but he doesn't check it. Now the Hunter's Fury could be what is needed for TSM to try to hold this up. Into the site goes Drone, finds himself 1 and a second. Could he get a 3rd? No. But Mikhail running out of time. Recon Bolt comes out. Wardell will finish the final kill as he just kept lurking in hell, and TSM go 2 in a row.
And they won't even need the Hunter's Fury either. The recon's going to be good enough here. And despite a decent, I think, timing coming through, like you sort of mentioned, from Kusta onto Hayes there, smarter plays by Cutler just to tuck away behind the box. It's not going to get checked at all. TSM will collect a further round here. It looked like it was maybe going to be a decent one coming through due to the fact that, yes, Sub Rosa did die on rotation. Drone not going to get anything out of his runner back either. But It's the A retake. I think it's been pretty unfortunate from Gen.G so far. They've really struggled there. Empress has been held on to for a couple rounds in a row. So we talked about potential timing for Sean. Timing's gone for Sean now as they try and rush their way through A main and get destroyed by Drone.
Easy peasy, no problems for Drone. Yeah. Clean it up, put it away. Go to round number 7, tied 3 apiece. But the more important thing here with those 3 kills from Drone is he's already earned another run it back, Kevin.
Yeah. Like, what is that? 2 run it backs in like 3 rounds?
3
something
rounds,
like that.
yeah, it's 3 rounds.
It's pretty ridiculous. So I'll be looking forward to that again. A triple kill being given over. See the patience here from TSM. They're just waiting to see if Gen.G are going to do something crazy here. They do. Just chill out. Let Gen.G run into you. Let them run into your rifles, and Wardell's operator over towards B as well, and they'll get all the kills they need. Undisputed still held on to as well, so we look towards the defensive operator for Hwin. Run away from Bladestorm. Opening shot's going to reveal the positioning and reveal the fact there's an operator there.
But again, aggressive take for TSM through A main. Wardell with the operator up top. Will there be any timing on this peak? Owl drones will be exchanged. Drone tries to make his way forward with run it back, but does get instantly denied. Mikhail from the side, able to find one, not a second. Rosa again. How many times is he going to be able to find the counter trade? Wimon into the site, not going to get to Sabrosa either. And TSM once more successfully take the A site. And it's down to Hwin and his 2 comrades to see if they can find a way to try to retake.
TSM have landed a lot of shots through smoke here, specifically onto Giman. They also saw the shot through the floorboards over to Hwin, and now the real shot from Wardell into Hwin that actually takes him down. Sabrosa has full control so far in towards the smoke and the... Well, I was going to say he was going to push on to Sean and maybe get that kill, but Sean responds, and this is where Sean might want to go huge. He's got 3 kills. Still got the inputs available, 6 shots available. Can't quite get into Cutler now for the 1v1.
Clutchler, maybe holding it. Sentry turret still there. And oh no, Kusta jumps off the defusal, finds the headshot, and Gen.G are able to clutch up the round and go up by 1.
That's a turret MVP right there. The turret did a lot of damage. The turret was confirming when the peak was happening as well. So if you're Kusa, you can kind of just rely on the turret info to see when Cutler was going to peek you. And just playing off that info plus the damage is so big. He had like, it was like a 2v1 right towards the end there. You're going to feel bad for Cutler. And Kusa's going to get it all done there. Kill plus the defuse. And Sean coming up massive. If it wasn't for Sean, I thought for sure that Sabrosa was going to find a timing through the smoke. They've had some pretty good luck in terms of damage through the smoke so far. You saw that Gimon couldn't quite get anything done through the smoke, and he was nearly about to kill the spike planter, but it was actually going to be Sean. Takes down Sabrosa, swings for a couple more. That's what allowed Kusta's... What's going to allow Kusta, rather, to have the opportunity to get a clutch. Now both operator players, both looking towards B main, but I don't know that either player will be actually pushing into another.
Yeah, a lot of SMG still on the table as well for Gen.G, so maybe you look towards these ultimates to be potential win condition here for Gen.G's defense. But on the other side, a lot of utility for TSM again. Early Nano Swarm will be sent through the middle of the map where TSM, to be fair, are pretty stacked. Dark cover will allow the swing. Kusta's able to read 1 rifle. Paranoia comes out. There's the challenge. Hunter's Fury also going to be committed for this. Win will take a bit of friendly fire, but at the end of it all, Gen.G walk away with first blood, and they denied the spike planter for now. Sabrosa will collect the spike, but he's kind of stuck at the moment, and we'll have to use the teleport onto the site. Operator be operator. Now to the Bladestorm. Now it's a knife fight between both. Oh boy, it's going back and forth. What weapon do you want? Respect the 1v1, please. Cloudburst being exchanged. Hwin misses the right click. Has to try to get a quick scope, and oh my goodness. Dancing with the devil were both of our Jet players, but it will be TSM who gain control of the B site for the 2v2 to play.
Yeah, dancing with maybe 2 left feet there. How do you miss that right click? Oh, that really hurts. That could have been such a massive play from Hwin. And Gen.G, they could have had a 3v1 in the situation. I mean, thankfully for there, Gimon picks up an extra. Sabrosa now 1 versus 2. Gen.G, I mean, a double peek will do it. There's not a lot of health. Sabrosa's on 63, so as long as they don't line up, I mean, this should be it. Leia's going to come through. Sabrosa tucking in very close to the boxes now. And as long as there's no timing or lineup again, it should be a trade. It won't even be required. Sean will just get the swing and the kill. And into the defuse as well. And deliver that one over to Gimon for an extra ult charge. And for Gen.G, 5 and 3 now. Hilarity ensues in B main, but the business end of the round will go to Gen.G over towards the actual defuse.
That may have been one of the funniest Jet 1v1s I think that we've seen. Or maybe not funny, but most entertaining 1v1 Jets
Cutler
that we've
broke
ever
the
seen.
1v1 rules. He came in, and that was just not fair, was it?
No, truly not. I mean, think of a world where Wind is able to keep his Bladestone. We just keep going back and forth between knives and operators. Maybe a nod to Riot. Maybe that could be our next game mode to come into play.
Just...
Knives and ops. That's it. That's all you get. Everyone plays Jet. You either got knives or operators. You choose.
Both Jets just spent all the util, didn't they? And they just miss each other again. I mean, this 1v1 has been a flurry of fumbles. Unfortunately, both players unfortunately not able to find their mark in a number of different ways. Drones are going to walk past each other in terms of the L drones being played by the Sovers. For once, Drone the player doesn't actually have the runner back, because otherwise he would have been following the L drone in towards A again. 3 away though, so he's been fed a lot of ultimate orbs. In case people are wondering, he's just been getting triple kills, a bunch of kills plus ultimate orbs, and that's what we're talking about in terms of getting these duelist ultimates online. Mid control's been found though, at least in some ways, not very deep from Sub Rosa. Still has to get past this alarm, but otherwise looking for a potential B split here. Gimon will check over towards potential B split. Otherwise, it's going to come down to Kusta, though, to hold on. Does have a lockdown.
Attacking lockdown will be spent first. Defensively, Kusta still holding on to his. Will he immediately use this to counter? Maybe it's just going to be an off the informational read. Wind will be blocked out by the dirt cover. Up and over. Nice shots from Kusta, but he does fall. So no more defensive lockdown available. More spam shots to the dark cover. None will commit, and we go 4v4 from here. TSM will be allowed to get onto the B site and plan. And keep in mind that Sabrosa is still lurking mid-map.
That's so strange. Kusta held on to that. He could have just played counter lockdown, pretty quickly there as well. He holds on to it, dies. I think maybe Gen.G were thinking they'll just play for the retake instead, play the lockdown for the actual retake, but now it's gone. And that's going to take a lot of effort now for Gen.G to do this. We still have the same Empress from round 3, by the way, for Sean. If he wants to go for it this round, it would be a good round for it. Hunter's Fury available from Cutler, but he's backside, so won't be able to use it offside. And a huge recon that reveals a couple members.
And Drone is able to convert onto one. Cutler, beautiful shock dart for a second. Sabrosa will give away his position in mid-market, but I just don't know if it's going to make too much of a difference. Wind has missed a handful of operator shots, and fortunately Sean's able to kind of make this a bit more respectable, but there was no world that TSM dropped that retake. And that will be, just barely Sabrosa in the corner. And TSM find another round of the board to take the deficit down just to 1.
Yeah, I think he was looking at his minimap like, okay, am I just barely out of the way? I mean, a 2v4, I don't think this was really going to be too doable for Gen.G. Sean comes in late to get a couple kills, but there's not going to be any time to actually get the defuse in there. They were looking for exits, and in that regard, they were pretty successful. I just look at what Kusta's decision-making there was. He held on to lockdown and died. I mean, obviously, he wasn't trying to die. I think the retake would have been good with the lockdown, but him dying completely screwed that plan. So 5-4 we go as TSM try to close the gap.
Drone, early run it back, coming through. And he does find the first blood and a second beautiful snap onto Guamon. Around that, TSM should be feeling pretty confident in considering the weaponry, but Sean with the Sheriff is definitely something to keep in the back of your mind, and it will be an operator to finally take him off the table. Wardell hoping for a second shot, but the Cloudburst just barely denies full line of sight. And so it's going to be a 2v4 situation that Gen.G are going to be required to try to find a way to retake in, or at least make this punishing in some way.
I mean, Gen.G looking for damage here, and, well, the name of the damage comes through from Sean, but Sean's been taken out already, so he's done his job. So in terms of at least getting 1 kill. That might be the only kill, though. The rest of Gen.G hoping to find a few more on rotation out. They know B main is safe, so the rest of TSM will be leaving this way. Nanostorm's going to prevent Mikhail from swinging. Also, it's a long-range Bucky. Quinn's going to get 1. Gives Drone a 3rd kill so far this round, and Drone even using the runner back, part of me thinks was it an overcommit, but at the same time, just having the safety, get the round in there, don't lose the pistols, don't do anything, where don't have any sort of weird situation that will cost you any more guns. Keep it safe. 3 still alive is really good for TSM, even at the cost of a runner back. And to be fair, that's the 3rd ultimate for Drone so far, and I wouldn't be surprised if in the next 2 rounds he finds a 4th ultimate.
I was about to say the exact same thing. I mean, if he keeps on pace for what he's been able to do as far as earning his ultimate, we'll probably get it in the next 2 rounds again, but nice final shot from Ordell as well, just to make sure that Gen.G do not exist with any members, and beyond that, TSM able to stay alive with the last 3. So we go tied 5-5, but the TSM offense really starting to come to life, so you kind of turn your attention over to Gen.G and Sean. At what point do you try to commit an Empress? Early curveball play for TSM to get into B main, and Sean will back up just a touch to pay some respect.
Gen.G coming through with the expected A main control. drone coming through onto the B side of things, where Sean is waiting. And again, we still have the lockdown from previous rounds as well. So really, I think Gen.G have the ultimates required to get this round underway. Here comes it. Hunter's Fury, which I don't know that's going to find too much, but TSM Wardell's going to get that opening kill, so it's a 1-for-1 so far, and Gen.G are going to use this from the shadows to confirm Gimon to the backside.
Yeah, it was kind of a delayed call on do we want to use the Hunter's Fury. You saw the Recon Bolt was able to recover onto 2 players inside the boathouse, but just a small hesitation, not really allowing the Hunter's Fury to find any kills, but it does create enough space to, like you mentioned, go 4-4. Sabrosa still mid-map, and this Owl drone, if it scouts him, could be really bad. He's stuck in a corner at the moment, has to try to use the stranded step to get away, and boy does he. The dirt cover was there, but Wen's able to find the elimination. But TSM still bounce back, and they have rotated through the middle of the map and have made their way onto A successfully without contest.
And that's the thing, right? Because Gen.G really heavily rotated over towards B. Again, Gimon used it from the shadows there, leaving Mikhail by himself, and between a rock and a hard place, stuck over towards 3 players coming from both sides. Cutler's going to see that the retake is going to be mainly heaven-based. Glass as well. Again, this will be a good time for the Empress to come on through. Gen.G need to try and squeeze through 2 last rounds. Last 2 rounds for both teams is going to be a full commit. No one's going to be saving. No one's going to be letting this one go. Here comes the paranoia. Here comes the retake.
And once again, Wardell over the top. The updraft peak, +1 on the low ground, looking for the full ace. He gets the right click, Wardell for 5, and TSM lock down the retake attempt and go up 6-5.
Really well played there. I mean, they just put a lot of pressure on towards B, open up A, bait out from the shadows from Gimon, and then opens a completely free site with a 1 kill extra as well. Here comes the retake once more. The replay, Wardell picking up the opening shot onto Gimon, converting onto Sean as well, dashing for the right click, and an ace deservedly so for TSM to jump up to 6 and possibly even 7 here. And that would be the same as what we saw in Blind, which is the 7-5 finish. And definitely on the cards for sure. As what is it going to be? Does Win only just have a judge this time?
Yeah, and he's got the Blade Storm as well to try to work this one to potentially a 6-6 tied half. Gen.G is playing a bit more aggressive this time. Sean in the dark cover through middle, but you also have Guamon who's trying to take this peek through Cubby. Aldrin will allow him to do this, and Sabrosa is trying to make sure there is no full defensive push through. Oh, does he read the players in any of these corners? I think he saw one. That'll do well, but Win is there to find the immediate trade, and with that, he'll sub out the judge for a Vandal.
Well, so the good news for Gen.G is they keep it close, still 1-1 here. There is not going to be an Empress for this entire first half, and I'll confirm with Sean's death, but the lockdown can still be pretty huge. I'm expecting the lockdown to maybe be the savior here. It depends if Kusta can get out or not. He's actually in a bit of an aggressive angle. He's right on site here. If he wanted to really use his lockdown, he'd have to be playing roughly where I think Mikhail is. With the wind down as well, it's going to be rough. Again, just keeping parity here. Gimon trading effectively, keeping things close.
But he's having trouble with his recon bolt and is trying to escape back to market, which he's, I would say, very fortunate to do. 3v3 situation. TSM going to try to overwhelm Mikhail over towards A, in which he just has a Spectre, and I agree. Needs to find at least one, but Cutler snaps while it looked like he was jumping midair to get on top of the ledge. Plant will come through, and now TSM have numbers for a 3v2, but keep in mind that Kusa still has a lockdown to use.
Cutler is very low, but just having the Sova alive for a post plant is such a big deal. I mean, the extra utility alive. By the way, the triple stack the smoke, which I think is something that Gen.G are not expecting. So just doing something a little bit off here, a little bit weird. Gen.G are not going to be prepared for. Now the potential to go into heaven. This could be huge. Drone. Oh, he doesn't get the kill. He dies. Still a 1v2.
And the lockdown does get destroyed at the very last second, but Kusta is going to be responsible for these last 2 members from opposite angles. Not going to be able to find the timing onto Wardell, who puts him in his place. And for a second straight map, TSM will be up 7-5 at the half. We'll swap the sides and be back right after this. Another 7-5 exit in favor of TSM. Avril, your thoughts on the first half?
I mean, it's a kind of half where I think Gen.G should have had more. They had rounds where, look at that fourth round again, that was really upsetting. You have other rounds where, you know, Sean not using the Empress, it's one thing, but Kusa kind of hold on to Lockdown at one pivotal round as well. I think Lockdown versus Lockdown. A lot of teams now would just use their Lockdown defensively to counter the offensive one, or even vice versa. So there were winnable rounds for Gen.G for sure. This could have definitely gone 6-6 minimum, if not be 7-5 in favor of Gen.G. We'll have to see what they can pull it together for this opening pistol. Now Drone with the opportunity for a big flash, and he'll get it.
Oh, and the simultaneous peek from Cubby, but well responded to as Gen.G. A beautiful recovery as they come on top of the trades. Hayes is still lingering just in case someone wants to rotate a crossover towards A, but that will not be the case. So now TSM will have to retake the B site in the 2v3. Gen.G not fully committing as of yet. Hayes is considering this cloud burst, but as he waits, it'll dissipate. He's going to find one kill for free. Gen.G not even paying attention to mid-market whatsoever. We've got ourselves a 2v2.
Yeah, but Huin's on 3 here. Would have to find an excellent timing if one shot lands. And oh my goodness, speaking of one shot there, that was brilliant from Huin. Dashes away as well. Now Cutler's got it all to do. 59 as well, and Kusa finding the headshot. Yeah, it's too easy. So there it is. It's going to be Gen.G picking up the pistol, and is that maybe a second pistol for Gen.G?
Yep.
I think Gen.G have picked up all the pistols so far. I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
Gen.G have taken all 4 pistols. They've had pretty much every anti-eco. It's the gun rounds, Chef. It's the gun rounds so far that Gen.G starts to slip away. Again, a huge shot coming through from Wim. If it wasn't for that one, I think, you know, very different round. That single 1v1, I think, determines the entire post-plant as we head now into the anti-eco. Double pistols here. Previously here that we saw in the round 2, Sean got a large number of kills. He had a massive timing walking into the 3rd round. So maybe that'll be the case as well again.
Shock Dart will display Sabrosa. Careful here. Oh, goodness. You saw a world where there was going to be another lineup. But Gen.G do recover and put themselves right through a lobby without being penalized too hard for it. And Wardell sticking onto a Bucky, considering how he wants to try to use this as Sean has made his way onto the site, but there is no spike a part of this play, at least not as of yet. It's still on the way forward. Sabrosa and Wardell trying to stay alive inside Tree, but there's so much spam fire coming through. And well, Sean will even push through that, gets the recovery and the overheal. Good help from Guamon, and Gen.G flawless thus far. 5v2 situation. Hayes makes things a bit more interesting, but is tagged up in the process. And it's going to have to be down to some beautiful shots, and, well, that's unfortunate. Drone actually flashes himself, trying to find a timing peek onto Sean. Leaves thing down to 1. Hayes, again, keeping things contested, but this would be a very difficult 1v3.
And the toast spots him as well. There's a flank coming on through. Hayes is caught reloading, and Sean doesn't mind dying because, again, playing the Reyna here, your goal is in these early rounds, especially for the anti-eco. It's why he doesn't really have much equipment either. He's just looking for kills. If he dies, it's whatever. He's working towards his ultimate. Same one from last half. 4 out of 6 so far towards it, so it's another possible timing. Hayes actually 5 out of 7, which is pretty big for finding a timing for that 4th round. Obviously, in this 3rd round for the half, they have the guns available. And as expected, it's, you know, Gen.G taking pistol, taking anti-eco. It's these rounds here on out, though. I mean, Gen.G have had a 3rd round before. They've won these 3rd rounds, but they got the thrifties. Sean went large in that 3rd round, which was upsetting for TSM. See what else can happen here, because Gen.G, rather TSM, don't want that to happen again.
Early paranoia play, trying to free Gen.G into a position to where they can safely grab the ultimate orb at A, which they do. And now we go back to resetting the play and seeing what exactly Gen.G wants to try to pull on this offense. Again, they've been great in these 3rd rounds when TSM have been on rifles. And they've been kind of weakened up with just SMGs, or for Sean's case, still a Sheriff to play with.
And the ironic thing is they're great into TSM's rifle round, but then their following round where they buy up and they have the guns, and TSM's on a thrifty, it's like the opposite. So it's those round 4s that have been really upsetting and difficult for Gen.G to navigate. But this round so far has been pretty slow. TSM have got a lot of members rotating over. Drones close by, drones here now. Paranoia is going to split the C as well. Gen.G are trying to get onto site, and this could be an opening kill. Sabrosa and Mikhail trading 1-to-1.
But is 1 going to be enough? We got a pinstripe kill feed. It does favor TSM when everything's all said and done. Kusa, though, able to keep things now to a 2v2. Up top, Sean trying to make a sneaky play, but gets denied. And so it comes just down to Kusa. 1v2 situation. Has a little bit of utility to play with. Double peek here from TSM, and well, Kusta's spray transfer not quite locked in. TSM win the round, and they go up again, 8-7.
Kusa was really hoping for a TSM lineup. They actually nearly got awarded with it, but couldn't quite land the shots and spray transfer onto, I guess, any heads. A lot of body shots were found, but not the kills. TSM will finally be able to hold on to their gun round, which has been super important. But, I mean, this is where things get kind of dicey for Gen.G. They've been in rounds 4 before where, I mean, it's hard enough in actual gun rounds where both teams have guns, but they've also, again, repeating myself, failed versus TSM when TSM come into these rounds with Thrifty. Here we go in terms of ultimates. Teams are very close here. Kusta, Sean, Yimond, all nearly there in terms of ultimates. TSM not too far away for some of their own.
Different look here. TSM will put Sabrosa in the backside by Wine, and Win's gonna watch that find the headshot. First blood for Gen.G, plus the ultimate orb recovered. Does allow for a Hunter's Fury to be brought onto the table. Cutler, did he see a leg right there? I believe he did, but that information seems to have been mutual. Shock Dart will be pretty darn well placed. Down to 75 HP is the Jet for Gen.G, and now it just comes down to a 60 seconds to play. How do you want to navigate this 5v4?
Really important that Mikhail actually has a Hunter's Fury here, so fighting for the orb control is very important for both sides, and also getting Huanel alive as well retains their numbers advantage. No trades available for TSM. Gonna come down to Drone potentially playing up close, but he doesn't have market control, and that's the upsetting part for him, as he's now gonna have to back out of that position. Wardell can't quite get the shot, and Cutler falls, so TSM have the opportunity to maybe bring numbers closer in favor, and they're still not gonna get a trade.
And with 2 kills over towards the A site, Gen.G say it's go time. They're going to execute right on over to A. There should be information that Wardell was nearby. But do you know that you've got him as low as you do? Maybe it doesn't make much of a difference. He finds not just one, but a second. Are you kidding me? Tailwind's away. And Wardell has now single-handedly made this a potential round where TSM can fight back. 15 seconds to go. And Gen.G, they will get the spike off, but they're going to be playing this post plant very individualistic.
3 HP as well, just barely surviving, but it's good enough. It keeps the numbers 3 and 3. To be fair, you look at Huyn, he's probably about a 1-shot away, so effectively both Jets now. Just a 1 tap, and it's going to be potentially quite a tough retake here as well. Kusta hanging out over towards short. Are they going to check him? This is kind of non-standard. It's a free kill. Kusta will definitely go 1 for 1. He gets even more. TSM down to only Hayes in a 1v3 running out of time. Hayes is looking to back out.
Yeah, and they, of course, know exactly where Hayes is positioned. No chance for a successful retake nor defuse, so Hayes will save the weapon and hopefully just get out without too much contest, which it looks like that will be the case. So what a play from Wardell initially. You thought was going to maybe be enough, but unfortunately he gets called over by Tree, and Gen.G do secure the round.
Some really important kills coming through towards the end there. I mean, Wardell nearly carried that last fight. Huge double kill into the dash. Kusta playing kind of, you know, a weird angle here that's difficult for TSM to really predict. I mean, the fact that even check short of believing that someone was there is a pretty good heads up, but, you know, not knowing that Kusta was right around the corner there. So Kusta kind of looking at that question. 5 ultimates now for Gen.G. And again, I look at previous rounds where Gen.G have definitely held on to ults way too much. It's not just, you know, the last half, but previous maps that I've looked at for Gen.G and other matches they played, they've certainly been very kind of conservative with ultimates. They do want to kind of rotate them a little bit more effectively. TSM will be on a light buy here with Wardell into the Bladestorm. Looks like they do actually have a couple rifles. Gen.G, though, it should be pretty simple.
Oh, Wardell freed up by a curveball and a paranoia, but the Tailwind updraft for the Bladestorm initial point of contact will be unsuccessful, so TSM will reset, play something a little bit more traditional, and now Gen.G have to really kind of make the call as far as what do you want to use to break into these sites here with 5 ultimates to play.
Deploying drone.
Just checking for TSM aggression. I mean, this is very similar to what we saw TSM do earlier in the other half as well. Just wait to see if the defending team is going to do something aggressive, especially with not the best equipment. Here comes the lockdown that we've been waiting for as well. And that's just going to give them the free sight. No one from TSM can really challenge this one. Wardell's going to look for an entry. He's actually got a decent angle to play with here. He's inside the smoke as well, which is great. And Sabrosa has a kill.
Run it back for Drone. Not going to find anything, but Sabrosa, like you mentioned, does find the first kill. 1 knife available for Wardell. Really flirting with disaster there. Does get taken down. Does go 1 for 1 overall. Win able to take down Drone after where he had initially triggered his run it back. Hayes is still up top. Potential for him to maybe sneak a kill on the planter, but the spike does get down successfully. Will that be win conditioned enough for Gen.G? Still yet to be determined as Hayes finds another kill on the way in. A lockdown could be used defensively here. Win would be trapped underneath Hell if that is the commitment. As they make their way forward, Cutler is able to find Win, and now it's just down to Kusta. And he won't even get the better of Cutler. Goodness, he locked down the angle. Nanostorm will fade, and Cutler will get the defusal. TSM back up on top 9-8.
Yeah, they get the kills required. They're pretty massive coming on through from these last two players alive. The opportunity for the lockdown, didn't end up using it, didn't really need it. If they wanted to use the lockdown, they'd have to use it straight away. I think the biggest problem with using lockdown at that stage in the game was the fact that you have to wait so long for the lockdown to actually fully initiate. That entire time, you're kind of chilling. You're not really taking space. The spike is timing out as well. It's still pretty dangerous. So just trusting in their ability to properly retake it. And by the way, you saw that last kill from Hayes in terms of the replay here. If Hayes actually gets the spike planted down before the spike comes through, they would have just won right then and there.
Wow, this has been a really tight affair between both of these squads. We're going to get a tactical pause from Gen.G here, and you take a look at the weaponry so far. They have to make a couple of decisions, as you see Sean has opted to purchase the Sheriff, but it's going to be down to what exactly do you want to do to try to free up a play here, because you will have the Bladestorm and a lot of other ultimates to use as well. And I think one of the big kind of fringe points has been what's up with the Empress. You know, we haven't really seen it be useful for Sean yet.
He hasn't used it at all this entire map, and I don't know that he's going to use it here either, because he's only got a Frenzy. Mikhail would have to swap guns here. Really what you should be doing in this position is, I mean, your bottom fragger, in this case, your support player as well, probably should give the rifle over to your top fragger here. Sean playing the Duelist has an Empress available. The Empress can still win you around. Win's obviously going to go towards the Bladestorm, but it's not going to be that case. Potentially fast from Gen.G here as well. Straight in, and Drone punishes.
Oh my goodness, that's such a massive kill for Drone. Now Hayes playing for mid-market. Sabrosa lurking over to help. Oh boy. Do they get two tactical pauses? Because you might need one after that breakdown from TSM.
I mean, I spent an entire tag pause to try and think about that round. Maybe they're obviously thinking about more than just one round here, but still, that round was quickly done. You saw how fast Gen.G tried to speed up here. I don't think they've made a really fast play so far, so respect to Gen.G for changing things up, because in terms of pacing, that's one thing that really haven't had a lot of change-ups. They've been, you know, a bit of a mid-round team. They haven't really tried to rush through yet. And instantly, Drone is in the perfect location to punish the rest of TSM Pounce as well. Not great equipment from Gen.G overall in terms of looking towards two pistols. Yeah, but here's the important one. Gen.G again, two big ultimates, Hunter's Fury on both sides.
This is a brilliant read as well, just to recap for the final point, that TSM know that Gen.G are going to want to try to play aggressive, maybe catch TSM off guard. Aldrone comes right through. Wardell in a bit of trouble, trying to spam. Has Sabrosa there for a bit of help. Wardell now a bit stuck, or is he? Paranoia comes through. He's able to find one. Spamming to the dirt cover. Sabrosa finds his second. And now it's just down to one last player on this hit, which Kusta does successfully take the win. So this is still a doable 2v3, especially if Cutler cannot find a way to contest Win playing deep by A.
They need another kill, and Drone's here to receive as well. He receives a bullet to the head. Holy Kusta. What a great shot, and that's the hand-me-down hero rifle from Guimond as well. The only gun they brought into this round that's now in the hands of Kusta, and Huin's going to pick up a freebie as well on the ground. A 2v2 is a lot more workable. There is still an ultimate available. Cutler would have to find a bit of a timing through glass. It's all four members surviving, all holed up around tree and also glass, and I don't think either team realizes just how close everyone is.
30
this
seconds
is interesting.
left.
TSM seemed to be kind of negotiating off the fact that we'll just play a retake here. You saw the Aldrin was still available. Shock Dart and Recon both, of course, are charged up as well. So a lot of tools to play with. And TSM are just holding in garden. They see the information, but Kusta gets his third elimination. Knows the fourth player was nearby, has a lockdown if he needs it. Hunter's Fury is going to come out trying to stall for as long as humanly possible. Can he find the connection? Sure does. Cutler with the kill. TSM up 11-8.
And it's insane that Cutler's the one that survives as well, because if Cutler actually died in that exchange, there's no Hunter's Fury. And there would have been a plan. Kusa could still get the 1v1 kill. He could still get the 1v1 clutch right towards the end there. Still got the turret to play with, still a little bit of utility available, but because Cutler is the one that survives for the last 1v1 and has the Hunter's Fury available, stops the plant coming in, not enough time, not enough HP. Kusta goes down and TSM go up to 11, and this is looking like a potential 2-0 on the cards here for our opening game of Challengers 3. And it's not looking too great for Gen.G. They would have to win this round because they're finally onto another bye. If they lose this one, it's probably over.
And again, I'm still looking at Sean. Can you get the Empress to find some value? This is a, of course, much needed round in what will potentially be your last full bye if you lose it. So I'm looking at Sean. He's your top fragger. Needs to be your playmaker in this instance. Dark cover sent through middle. Cutler will hold inside of it. It'll come down to a timing of if this dissipates, will either player try to make a peek? And looks like the answer will be no. Mikhail's going to try to scout things out with the Aldrin. We'll only see information on one, which was Hayes playing over towards the back stairs.
So B split here. It's going to come down to info from Cutler to be able to spot this. He's still hanging out. Sean knows that Cutler is somewhere around spawn. Attacking lockdown is going to come into place as well. Obviously, there's no Hunter's Fury this time around. Cutler used that the previous round. The drone's been killed, so they won't spot the extra demand over to market. Should be a pretty simple B take from here.
Cutler nearly gets the elimination, though. Hunter's Fury going to come out offensively. Mikhail's able to find Hazed. TSM currently stuck behind their spawn. Sabrosa trying to find the lurker of Win, not going to find the kill, and so now Gen.G have a much easier look at this 5v3 in which they should be able to get the spike down without any contest. So it's all down to a post-plant break for TSM if they even want to go for it.
Their money's not the best, actually. We've traded enough kills that, I mean, you have to look at all the previous rounds here. Despite TSM kind of having 3 rounds won in a row, they've been dying a lot as well, which means they've been rebuying a lot, which means in this particular round, they're going to go for the save. I think if they had kept more members alive in the last 3 rounds while winning, they would have had enough money banked up that they would definitely go for this. A 3v5 that doesn't look like great odds, but in terms of, you know, what they lose here, very little if they actually have a lot in the bank. Not the case this time around. Gen.G had to spend 2 ultimates for that one, but they go flawless, which is going to be great for their economy, and they need to do a decent amount to catch up here. They'll be on to 9, 2 away from catching up to TSM. As long as they keep TSM away from the 12, they have a good shot. As soon as TSM hits 12, I think it's pretty much done. I pretty much haven't ever seen a team hit 12 and lose, and Gen.G then dropping 2 extra to the spike when they could have held on to 5 guns is actually really expensive. I mean, look at the money. They can't really afford to comfortably buy twice now. Sorry, TSM. They gonna have enough?
Yeah, no, you're right. The scoreboard here a bit backwards. It's Gen.G that loses those 2. Yeah,
it's Gen.G. So they're gonna have. Yeah, they are gonna have enough. Sorry, yeah, the scoreboard colors are still work in progress here, but losing 2 extra right towards the spike is not great.
I mean, Kusta's completely zeroed out. I believe it's Mikhail who actually has to purchase for Sean. And Wardell has brought another operator to the field. Still waiting for Sean to hit the triggers on this Empress at some point in time. We have yet to see it. And another gun v gun round here for both of these squads as Gen.G take the middle of the map, but this time it's actually Hayes who's playing a little bit tighter in mid-market. Could be first point of contact here between Sean and him. Aldrone is also being used to try to scout things out. Sean's position should be revealed. And Hayes will actually choose to still hold his ground here mid-market, so wants to try to play for a first blood and clear the middle of the map potentially.
Looking for a potential A split here as well. You notice both teams have kind of given up control of A main. As I say, that Win is going to refine that control possibly through once the smoke disappears. And Cutler and Hayes have a bit of a crossfire, or did have a bit of a crossfire set up over towards mid. Drone playing a close angle over towards B. They haven't heard anything on B for a while. There should be a bit of info coming on through, and there it is. They should know now for sure it's A.
Pixel peek not successful. Sabrosa caught out inside the garden, has to back up by the recon bolt that forces him away. Now as it fades away, Sabrosa through the dark cover. How does he find one? Wardell gets one more, and now he's got the angle locked up. Him and Hayes combining. Last player left alive is Mikhail, and no chance to get away from the sights of Wardell for 3. And TSM put themselves on match points.
Huge kills coming through. Wardell stepping up big time, 24 and 11. Massive operator map here as well. Has been holding on to this one, getting a number of kills, and Gen.G now in a lot of trouble. Money doesn't look great. They barely walk away with a previous round, and even then they lost 2 to the spike, which is just a bit of a blunder, an extra blunder. Gen.G backs against the wall. Match point for sure, and Gen.G will be going to the losers bracket here if they drop this. Kusa, no gun, just the Sheriff. Spectre for Win as well, and guns for everybody else, including Sean. As you said, the top fragger needs to step up. Wardell isn't going to hit the opening shot, and Gen.G are going to confirm Wardell's location.
TSM quick to displace and set something different up. A little plan B. Sean again mid-map. This time the resistance would be Wardell, depending on if he wants to play this aggressively, and he has. He's on the outside of this dark cover. Just comes down to timing of when this dissipates, and he sees nothing. Gen.G have gotten into mid-market. The door will be broken. Wardell's making sure no reinforcements can cross. Drone is the one responsible, though, for making sure that B stays safe, and boy, has he. Finds first blood. Hot Hands also in the mix. Cutler trying to work this with him, but not even going to be required. Wardell from the backside of the defensive spawn, able to use the Blade Storm for another elimination. And we've got a 4v2. Make it down to just a 1v4. Last player left is Win. Sees one. ADS taps are good. Still has some room to work with. No spike in hand. Still lingering over towards the defensive spawn alley. But timing here could still be good for him. Depends on how he clears this.
Will be traded.
Should be traded. There's the first. Tailwinds away. Still an opportunity here with 20 seconds to go. The problem is that Hayes knows that the spike is down to the defensive spawn and there are no cloud bursts available for Win. So you'd have to win one more full-fledged kill. Gets the spike into hand. Tries to bait out the peak. And he finds the shoulder, but no drone! Locks the shots down, and TSM, they take the series 2-0 as they advance in the winner's bracket.
Massive from TSM, and TSM on the massive comeback now. They haven't been able to qualify into challenges for 2 challenges runs in a row. 3 is the lucky number here for TSM as they break past Gen.G, and this was going to be potentially one of the major hurdles for them. They got one of the more difficult games, I think, heading into the quarterfinals, heading into the opening match of Challenges 3 here, and they get past, and I'm not going to say with flying colors, but certainly in at least some style, in some comfort. 2 maps here where, you know, you have a huge map for Sub Rosa, a huge map for Wardell, as you'd expect. Even the last time that TSM actually lost to Gen.G in the qualifiers, Wardell still came up huge, so no questions about Wardell's ability here. Gen.G, though, they another team where, you know, I think Gen.G was starting to make some good moves in the scene. They started to look like a very comfortable team, very consistent team. But the real consistency, however, is that they're still kind of just this gatekeeper team. They're able to stop a lot of teams from progressing, but that team is not going to be TSM today. They're not going to stop TSM a second time. And TSM on both maps here looking great. And I think I agree with you on an earlier point. Gen.G definitely needed to take bind. They couldn't do that. TSM maintained 100% win rate now on Ascent still. And we don't get to see the icebox.
I think the big factors as we look through the replay package here, you get to remember that Gen.G take all 4 pistols. So definitely some work to be done there for TSM. But at the flip side, a lot of these clips are Wardell. And I think that is not just talking onto him specifically, but just the 1v1, the Jet v Jet battle. How often did Wardell come out on top over the head of Win all the way throughout, including that little dicey 1v1 inside B main?
When it ends on not the greatest scoreline, but I think, you know, that's kind of just true for most of Gen.G here. I think Gen.G really failed in the gun rounds. That's what we're talking about, right? Because you say that the pistols have been going Gen.G's way. They win 4 of them, which is great. They'll get anti-ecos. They get basically 4 rounds every single time. In fact, sometimes they get their 3rd round as well, but then they kind of falter on that 4th one. And then beyond that as well, the rest of the rounds and the guns just don't really go their way. We've had back-to-back 5 and 7 finishes in the opening half, and back-to-back, you know, opening pistols as well. So part of the 5 rounds that they get in their opening half comes through from pistol anti-eco. It's, again, into the gun rounds where Gen.G are not really consistent enough to really take one over TSM, and that's where the game is made. That's where the game is really won and lost here for the most part between teams, and TSM far more consistent there. And players stepping up huge. A drone in that first half. How many running backs did he get again? Like 3,
At
almost
least.
4. So it's insane. I mean, you got just TSM making plays all over.
And with that in mind, as TSM gets past Gen.G, we take a look over at our bracket as the other upper quarterfinal has also come to a conclusion. Luminosity was able to take a 2-0 versus the Kooky Koalas, who had a bit of a run getting through this 3rd qualifier just to make it to this main event. So that means that TSM will face up against Luminosity in their upper semifinals matchup. But coming up next here, Avril, we'll be dealing with 100 Thieves playing up against NRG on this broadcast. And on the other one, it'll be FaZe Clan playing up against T1 on Nerd Street Gamers 2. And this is what the lower bracket also looks like for now, where Gen.G will have a test versus the Kooky Koalas. That will be coming up later on this evening.
I can't wait for the next game. I think everyone's been waiting for the 100 Thieves debut of Ethan coming in. That has been a talked about subject in the community for, you know, the past between now and Challengers 2, really. So this is going to be a huge debut for 100 Thieves. Let's see how deep they can make a run again. Top 4 is what we're looking for here. Top 4 teams from this event go into Masters, and you got a lot of teams eyeing that spot. TSM get to walk through for the initial win, and now it's 100 Thieves' turn to maybe prove that they can do that as well.
Well, before we send things off to a break and get our things set up here for that 100 Thieves and NRG matchup, remember that HyperX, we wouldn't be able to do this event without them. And, well, Legendary Comfort has now gone wireless with the HyperX Cloud 2 wireless headset. Built to be an ultra comfortable gaming headset with amazing sound, it's really no wonder that it's become the preferred gaming headset for millions of gamers, including myself, and Avril, which I'm actually not wearing mine right now, but I do have mine on deck. I know that you do as well. Also rocking the HyperX
we'll flash it.
Quadcast. We're big HyperX stands here in these parts, so definitely check it out at HyperX. And if you're looking for any gaming peripheral, that should be your go-to spot. But we'll throw things to just a quick commercial break. When we come back, it's 100 Thieves versus NRG for our second upper quarterfinal here in the mainstream. Don't go too far. More Valorant Challengers number 3 coming up right after this.
What sound experience would you like today?
I'll have the fantasy pack.
Good choice.
And could you make it a Cloud 2 wireless?
On his way, sir.
Sounds amazing.
I feel like I need to defend my scene's honor here, because this is just turning into a bit of a dog battle.
Like in groups always look.
I'm
TSM,
cutting
they
you
always
off
look
here. I'm
lackluster.
cutting you off. Cutting you off. He said G2's winning it.
playoff.
He said G2's winning it.
We need to wait till the next EU tournament, which could be in about 10 years now.
Take it with like a grain of salt.
No,
but
that's
that
no
being
fun.
said,
Take it super literally.
Spike defused.
Oh, baby. Contrast stitching. Curves that'll hug your body. Adjustable arms. Custom embroidery. Memory foam pillows. Changeable color inserts. Lay flat, recline. Removable logos. Soft, durable material. Yeah. Like what you see, baby? Zip chair.
Welcome back there, everybody. I'm Alan. I hold shift down to Frio. With me, Kevin Avril Walker. We had an incredible 2 maps when we were just watching over at TSM playing up against Gen.G. TSM gaining the favor, if not just barely, to get themselves into the upper semifinals. But we turn our attention down to the second upper quarters that we have. But before we do, I don't know about you, Kevin, but I'm in the need of a new PC. And, well, Nerdstreet Gamers is in a position where they're putting out one heck of a PC sale where you can get your hands on pro-grade PCs at a very low price. Let me tell you, take a look at this one here, friends. nerdstreetgamers.com/gear. I mean, we're looking at an i7 in that, an RTX 2070. I mean, what else could you possibly want? This is a fully loaded PC, so definitely go over and take a look.
And while everyone's in the market for a new PC, I think these two teams are in the market for a new play between Challengers 2 and 3. Both NRG and 100 Thieves come in with a fresh-looking face. So one of the sides is a full debut. I'm talking about 100 Thieves. It's a full debut for a new player. NRG, so a little bit of Android coming in already, but this is going to be a massive game because it's two organizations, two teams that have, maybe some cases similar to TSM, but they haven't quite had the success yet. They've actually made more Challengers events, and TSM's on a bit of a tear this time around, which just goes to show, by the way, how competitive Challengers 3 really is, because you still got LG in the mix. 100T versus NRG is going to be a big game here. Really excited to see how Ethan does, and for 100 Thieves, I think a lot of their fans have been waiting for this moment.
And for NRG, again, they have to earn their way into this main event by working their way through the third qualifiers, in which they do a pretty clean job of dealing with the competition outside of maybe one tight match they had versus Demon Time that got them here, a 15-13 win on split there. But again, we need to go over these rosters because there is a bit of freshness here for 100 Thieves. I think everyone very much so expecting and anxiously awaiting the debut of Ethan. But on the other side for NRG, I'm not gonna lie, I was a bit surprised to see Android and Andbox kind of parting ways, and he finds himself on a very solid NRG team.
Yeah, I think Andbox are going to be doing a bit of a rebuild after this one. Android was, I think, by far, and this is not a hot take at all, most people would agree, by far the best player on Andbox. So Energy, in a way, have made a huge upgrade here. Som moves from the duelist position over onto Smokes, and he'll be taken over for Infinite, who's not on the roster now. He might be benched, he might be off, no one really knows for now. And NRG on this new look, I mean, this could be the change they've been looking for. NRG could be making some big moves here, especially against 100 Thieves that are going to be with at least Ethan, possibly less practice. I mean, Ethan, there's two arguments to be made here. One is that people are going to say, I mean, how long has Ethan been really playing? How much experience does Ethan have? Ethan's at least had a lot of ranked experience. We know he's been rated. We know he's been playing a lot of Valorant in general in terms of just overall play time. But the big difference is Ethan hasn't had a lot of time to specifically play with 100 Thieves. He hasn't scrimmed with them really long. This is going to be maybe a different experience. I don't have any concerns about Ethan's individual ability here. We know he's one of the most accomplished players in North America for Counter-Strike. We know coming into this game he's going to be a fantastic individual player. The question mark will be how quickly does Ethan gel with the rest of the 100 Thieves roster? And it's not just Ethan, by the way. Nitro is changing positions. He's moving off Smokes, giving his position over to Ethan. And now Nitro is kind of filling into what is called apparently a flex position. So it's, I don't know that he'll quite be playing Dicey's, duelist position. You could even have Asuna moving over to Jet. I don't know who's going to be playing Jet yet on the team, whether it's Asuna or Nitro. It's got to be one of those two. I don't know they'll be playing Jet at all. It could just be they don't do Jet. They do one duelist, no Jet. They do Nitro on a Sage, on a Breach, on something else supportive. And it could be one duelist plus 4 supports.
Look, it's going to be a large learning experience overall. And I think, when you get the news that a player like Ethan's coming to the mix, you don't feel like it's a weird change. But for 100 Thieves, you have to keep in mind that they have been built with a lot of competitive success really in the last 4 or 5 months. And you're kind of looking at the timing of this saying, oh, okay, it's interesting because you're able to get yourself into that second closed qualifier for the Challengers main event. You didn't have to play through the open quals this time around. And outside of a couple of tight games that you had versus both Luminosity and Sentinels, I don't think there were too many people looking at this 100 Thieves team saying, oh, they need to make a roster change. But you find a player like Ethan, if it makes your team overall better, you can't really fault them for the change overall. So we'll take a look to see what exactly we have for a map set here for this best of 3 battle between 100 Thieves and NRG. Again, this is still just an upper quarter final, but it's an interesting map set because we kind of expected to see a handful of bans. Mostly, we're looking at 100 Thieves that they've hard banned out split. That will retain the case, but Icebox will be taken off the field for NRG. So map number 1 will send us to Haven.
And yep, so that's going to be 100 Thieves keeping parity with what they've done in the past. They've played 0 splits so far this entire, VCT, this entire Challengers run between Challengers 1 to 3. They haven't played a single split. you've actually had NRG looking towards, they were mostly banning, I believe it was Ascent previously. Now they've shifted their primary ban over to Icebox. They were happy to play Icebox previously in previous Challenger events, and now into Challengers 3, they've kind of shifted gears a little bit, saying Icebox is not going to be the map anymore. We're going to be going to Ascent a little bit later on. So the good news for NRG is if they don't actually really want to play Ascent, the good news is they don't have to play until map 3, but they would have to kind of 2-0 here. Otherwise, it's kind of an issue. We know that 100 Thieves have been a very Ascent favored team for a while. They have an 88% win rate there, 7-1 so far over the course of challenges. Looking at Haven, we've got a 6-2, 75% win rate here for 100 Thieves. They've only lost to Sentinels, and obviously that one loss to Carpe knocked them. That was when Nitro was away, but that's a while ago now, and that's kind of one loss you kind of write off 100 Thieves because they didn't have their full roster. Now that they do have their full roster plus a potential upgrade, you could argue, I think, you know, like you sort of said here, look, if Ethan's available, someone's going to get Ethan. And whoever gets Ethan on paper, it should be a massive upgrade to your team. And 100 Thieves at this point are just looking to stack as much CS royalty as they can on their team.
I mean, hey, if it works, it works. And, well, you can't really argue with the results, at least from First Strike, obviously, past that point. But for Energy on the other side, I mean, this is a team that when they initially got onto the scene, you know, players and community members alike were kind of looking at it with weary eyes saying, did they get the best roster available? And the results did obviously not speak for themselves early on through at least the First Strike. But here, since they've been a part of the VCT, they've been playing really, really well. And that's a really big key overall. Outside of the 0-2 loss they had to Andbox in the open qualifier number 2 for the Challengers main event, they've been finding a ton of success. The big problem for this team, and not just recently, but kind of historically, is how do they get past those big name squads? How can they be potentially a championship contender? Do you feel like the Android move is the missing piece that this NRG team really largely needed?
I mean, they need to hope it is, because the problem for NRG is I kind of look at this team in a similar light, at least narrative-wise, to a team like Gen.G, for example, except Gen.G have had more recent success. Gen.G have made further moves. Gen.G have, you know, kind of been on the up and up, and NRG are kind of potentially another gatekeeper team. I mean, you look at NRG's results, and this is the kind of team that has, you know, like I sort of mentioned, they've been having some reasonable results, but then they can't quite get past Xset, they can't quite get past even Ambox, and they go pretty even with Gen.G. A lot of teams are losing to Luminosity, so I guess that's not really the biggest loss, but they feel like that kind of middle of the pack team right now. So you look at this kind of lineup, and I'm concerned about NRG because only the top 4 get to make it into Masters. My biggest question becomes, do NRG look like a top 4 team going into this challenge number 3? Because on paper, 100 Thieves, yeah, they are. TSM, you just saw them beat Gen.G, so they are. Gen.G I had as a potential favorite for this because they had been on the up and up, but then losing to TSM, especially in the fashion they did, maybe put Span in the works. Luminosity, I think, are a heavy favorite to make Masters as well. Agreed. So, I mean, I've just named like 5 teams, so someone's not going to make it. And is that someone that doesn't make it going to be NRG? Did they miss out because they are just not quite at the level of being able to take down teams like 100 Thieves yet? And they're going to need to be, because if they lose to 100 Thieves, there's still a lot of other teams they have to get past to make top 4.
100%. And again, this is not necessarily an expectation that you immediately, you know, in this specific Challengers 3 event, you're making that roster substitution, you're bringing Android in. Do you think that he instantly gets inserted and makes this team a top level contender? Maybe, maybe not. There's still some familiarity to be gained, you would feel like, but we are just waiting on a couple of players to get ready to go with the lobby. But while we are, we were talking while we were going over Ethan being brought into the mix, 100 Thieves having a lot of role swaps because of this overall. One of the things that we should have come to known from 100 Thieves on a map like Haven is that they would run the double duelist. But you yourself kind of insinuated that, wait, that might not be the case, because who would play the Jet? We're still kind of lost on who that very well may be, confirmed at least, as we get into this main event.
And I'm thinking 100 Thieves, you know, they might be the type of team to just say, you know what, we're not going to do the Jet anymore. They could absolutely make that decision if they want to. I think there's a possibility that Asuna maybe plays the Jet. We know that Steel has been like a secondary operator for the team previously when Dicey was on main op.
Sure, right.
So, I mean, there's a few question marks. We know that Steel's not changing up. One change that Steel has been making is he's moved away from the Killjoy quite a lot to play a lot more Cypher. I've been looking at his streams. He's been practicing Cypher on every single map, and I actually think his Cypher looks extremely solid. So, 100 Thieves still overall on paper look like a good team. It just comes down to question marks on how do they actually handle their new roster in terms of roles and what they're going to be playing. How does Ethan integrate into the team with not a lot of time here? And that's probably going to be NRG's biggest weapon, is because NRG, they look like they have a little bit more time and gameplay into the battle with Android. Right. And you're looking over NRG's previous games as well. If you actually look at the games in the Challenger 3 qualifiers, it's like Android top fragging every single game. He goes, you know, plus 12, plus 14. His weakest game is at like a plus 7 overall, and that's still like really good. He's got his plus 24 game in there. Overall, Android has been more than performing on this team. So you could argue maybe NRG played against teams they're expected to beat anyway, but it just goes to show that Android has had pretty consistent performances across the board in all the official games that NRG have played. There's a decent amount of, there's some tape on them. There's at least stats on them that everyone can go and look at. And in those stats, you're going to see Android popping off.
And the thing about it is Android just gets inserted as essentially a duelist swap in, and he's going to be able to just do Android things at the end of the day. We are just kind of dealing with a situation where we're trying to make sure everyone can get successfully onto the old patch and get into lobby. That's apparently a little bit harder to do than we may have figured initially. So instead of us continuing to talk on about this 100T NRG podcast we're putting on, we'll send things just to a brief break. We'll be coming back as soon as our teams are ready to go into Agent Select. Don't go too far. 100 Thieves, NRG, map number 1 coming up right after this.